Hey, good morning. Welcome to BCB Live. You have Sir Rick, Drive Safe Dave. Thankful Thursday. It's our chance, our opportunity to say thank you for what you do and to know that you are so appreciated out there. You are the heroes of America. You're the ones that make it happen. And we say thank you. Drive safe. Good morning.
Good morning. How is everybody doing today? I am excited about being here. I know it doesn't seem like it, but I am truly looking forward to getting an opportunity to say thank you to you and everybody out there doing a wonderful job and doing what it takes to make it right and make it safe.
It doesn't look, what does that even mean? It doesn't look like it. You look
Like
excited to me.
I feel like I got a little thing going on in my throat and I got a little, I got a little thing happening.
Are you having another case of COVID or anything like that? What do you got stuck in your throat?
Look, I just had some sinus drainage yesterday and it's going, hey, have you ever had any sinus drainage going on?
Never have. You
never had any sinus
Life
drainage.
with Sir Rick is pretty daggum good. You don't get sick. Everything's good. When I walk down the road, down the sidewalk, flowers just bloom up. It's just what happens.
When you actually have adversity in your life, you actually rise above that and you become a much better person. And if you haven't had an opportunity to become a much better person, Sir Rick, follow me and I'll teach you the way.
Is this what much better looks like? If so, I'll stay on this side of the track. I'll stay on this side of the track. Hey, what's the big buzz in Maine right now?
The big buzz in Maine is bees and bees. A truck has overturned in Maine and has sent out a swarm of bees. They are calling in beekeepers from all over to make sure to help clean up this mess as they get the bees to settle down. They were a little upset. They were a little upset of the apple cart being tossed. I can tell you
Yeah, not a big fan of that. I can imagine, right? And there's somewhere they say between 10 to 60,000 bees per hive is what goes on in there. So the flatbed truck going northbound, a four-wheeler going south, crossed over to his line. This car later on had accused of DUI as well, right? Driving without a proper license as well.
Good.
Knocks the bees over everywhere. The beekeeper gets out of the truck and does what he should, and that's to try to calm the bees down. He resets the things back up on the side of the road.
Get them to come back
and
to
they
life.
agreed to leave them there like a couple of days, right, to see if the bees will come back. Bees are important to our lives, right?
Yeah, why? We wouldn't have flowers. Why would we have flowering plants if we didn't have bugs, right?
Well, or I could just have to walk. That would take a lot of walking for me, let's be honest, to get all the flowers to kind of come back to life. But no, great point on that. Drive safe. Yeah, craziness out there. And again, it's just what we talk about on the road is that you've got to look out for others. You've got to look out for the crazy four-wheelers, and a reminder to the four-wheelers out there. And if you're wondering, what is a four-wheeler? Well, if you're driving a car, you're what we call a four-wheeler. You as well are not allowed to drink and drive. Just like the big trucks have rules, so do you. And when you drive, and let me tell you something else, Drive Safe Dave, if you had your license revoked or it's suspended right now, there's probably a good reason for it. Stay off the road. Stay off the road. Drive safe. And now we go to the gentleman that was arrested, right, for placing what he learned probably on BCB Live, switching the stickers around, kind of that he learned from our own producer here. Anyway, he walks out.
Okay, so he saw a sign that said 2 bottles for $3 and assumed that half that was $1.50. So he threw down $1.50 and walked out.
But he threw down $2. He threw down $2 and walked out, which tells you either that he's leaving a tip or he's still trying to do something wrong. He does. The police go after him. They get him arrested. 7 days in jail before his prosecutor comes. Drive safe, Dave. $50,000 cash bond is what's been placed on him. Producer, what do you think?
Yeah, the guy was trying to buy a Mountain Dew. Right, so he sees a deal that says 2 Mountain Dews, $3. I'll throw down $2 and I will be A-okay. But when the bottle comes out to $2.29 and he is 43 cents short after throwing down $2, Pennsylvania law says 3 strikes and you are out. So now he is facing felony charges that will hopefully be dropped in this case.
They did read that they dropped the felony charges after a few days, but seriously, time served for 43 cents.
In logic, he's thinking, well, it's $3 divided by 2, but the sale didn't apply to single bottles. And Drive Safe Dave, it led me to believe and do a little bit more research that said something says this isn't his first offense.
No.
Right?
No,
It's probably not your first
he's
offense.
Didn't
Pay for fuel one time, right? Got arrested for fuel. Then went and stole some Nike shoes somewhere, shoe theft. And you know what, though? I think he's done a better job. He stole gas, a tank of gas. Then he goes and steals some shoes. Hey, he only was short 40. He's making some improvement. You know what? Give him a break.
You know, I thought the same thing when I read the story. I was like, you know what? He's making improvement. He tried to change. But the same newspaper that reported on this charge also reported earlier that he had been charged with theft in Cumberland County earlier in the summer on suspicion of trying to take...
This guy is a one-man crime spree, right? Going on with gas and Mountain Dew. Sounds to me like we have a career criminal on the loose out there in the upper states. We've got to make sure.
You got to draw the line somewhere. And all I have to say when it came to this, all I had to think about during this was going back a few months ago. If you've been watching this show, you remember when the producer came clean for the old price swap, and it made me think of the producer. And was it worth it? Would it be worth it buying that salt? Right? And for 7 days in jail. Something I want you to think about.
I think my charge would be different because while he was getting Mountain Dew, I was getting salt, right? So I'd probably be charged with aggravated assault
Yes, that is not a felony. Great point.
That is a felony.
On that. Hey, listen, we talked yesterday about Hertz, right? About them making the big deal with Tesla. Drove Tesla's price up to one of the highest valuations yet, to $1 trillion. Big dollars. Drive Safe Dave, they as well come back, and now they're making deals with those Uber drivers. We spoke about the Uber drivers as well, how that really affected their business. They come back and they're giving them a discount now, or a deal. Always be careful.
Trade in your old vehicle, get a new electric vehicle, up the ante. Make sure that you're part of this new program. It looks to be pretty interesting how they're tying all this together to bring in these vehicles, not only and to go more green, I guess is the deal behind it, but also making it a lot better to bring the technology, I guess, forth in some way. When you put that many vehicles in a community, you're going to have to put new electric charging stations, and you're going to have to up the ante across the board.
Yeah, and a lot of Uber drivers follow BCB Live, and for you've got to have a rating of 4.7 or 150 trips under your belt as well. So it's not just for the average Joe, Uber driver. We're after that primo driver that's got the high ratings
and the 2 thumbs up on their scorecard.
For sure.
Yeah, but what I think is interesting about this deal is while Hertz is teaming up with Uber to give them these, or I say quote unquote, give them these cars and allow them to rent from them, they're charging drivers $334 a week to rent an Uber, to rent a Tesla to drive their Ubers. And that's a pretty decent size of your paycheck every week just to rent a
unlimited
Tesla.
miles, though.
Unlimited miles.
But as long as you've got, the good conversation line, he's always got a good conversation, it may get a discount. I'm just saying it always goes in for a better time.
It'll gradually drop to $299. So you save $30 a week over time. It's like if you're spending half your paycheck a week just to rent your car, doesn't seem like a very good deal on the side of the Uber driver.
Yeah, I kind of question the same thing, but I can tell you who does appreciate all this is our good old buddy, Mr. Elon. Elon now has a valuation on himself of nearly $300 billion, coming in at just short at $287 billion. You know what? He is a big believer in Hertz. We'll start seeing some commercials with Elon as they drove that.
And his rocket, right? Hertz and his rocket.
Bezos' value is $196 billion. And way down there, he's not even a conversation anymore. Is old Gates coming in at a mere $134 billion. Who is this Bill Gates person? Who is he? Elon is the new
old money. He's old money.
He is old. Remember when Gates was the big deal when it came to money? Oh, look at and here he is, old Elon. After this big valuation, also improved his dadgummit, Drive Safe Dave, nearly $300 billion.
That's a lot of cash. A lot of
It's
money.
a ton of cash. Hey, we're going to be right back. We have Ralph Furlong, and we're going to talk a little safety on the ports. And we're going to talk really and dive into 24 hours a day. When we start running 24 hours a day, what is it really doing to our bodies, and what are some of the things we got to be aware of? BCB Live, we're the safest station in the nation. Welcome back to BCB Live, the safest station in the nation. Drive Safe Dave. One of the conversations that we continue to have around the supply chain regards to is going to the chip costs, right? The amount of chips that aren't out there, aren't available for any of us. You know, Ford came out, and real quick, Ford and GM both came out with their announcements of the third quarter, in which the GM's profit down 40%, Ford down 23% on their projections. Both of them, though, still, raising their expectations for the year, but say we expect a lot less. What you see right now on the lots, expect to see that, bear all the way into 2022. So
Wow.
Just an amazing event still going on with the chip conversation. One of the answers that, to try to, as we've all struggled, right, with trucks coming into, with trucks being made, not just the cars, but the trucks is, well, how do we add more drivers if we're running out of equipment? One of the ways that we heard was to the port side was like, hey, you know what? Let's just open 24 hours a day. We'll be open, we'll ship out, and everything can catch up if, again, the transportation folks step it up. And again, that's coming on a Say What episode this Friday. Say what on stepping up. But with that, Drive Safe Dave means 24 hours a day. That does something different to all of our bodies, right? I mean, it's hard to just say, you know what, I'm going to wake up at 1 o'clock in the morning and work from 1 to 11 and be just as effective as I am during the normal daylight hours.
Yeah, if you've been doing it, if you've been doing it for a long time and been doing it a certain shift and then try to jump into a different shift, it makes it really difficult because your body's not used to it. And when you do get acclimated, it takes a while to get acclimated, about 30 days. So you got to, it takes a little bit. You can't just, turn shift gears and what, but you can get acclimated. And a lot of the drivers know exactly what we're talking about here of running day and running night and trying to change that time frame. And it makes it really difficult on the body. But I will tell you, it makes it dangerous if you're not ready and not willing.
Yeah, and somebody who knows a little bit about that is our very own Ralph Furlong, who managed the Panama Canal safety when they went 24 hours, building that canal, redoing that, making it large for the ships. Mr. Ralph Furlong, are you on here, sir?
Hey guys, how you guys doing this morning?
You know what? There he is, my fellow brother with the safety orange on. I love your view on safety. Ralphie, like me, we're sleeping in with the bright colors on. We have our underoos on, going to bed to make sure that everyone knows 24 hours a day. Ralph, we got to be safe, right?
That's correct, always, and that's the most important part of it is safety first. Remember that, and not only that, guys, but COVID's still out there. People are still wearing masks. We still have to be safe, and that's something that we have to push on everybody. People think that it's over, and hey, we can put our guard down. We still have to keep our guard up to prevent, and that way we can avoid this going into a worst case scenario like we've seen in the past. But glad to be here, guys.
No, glad to have you. Hey, Ralph, we have a lot of news going around the country right now regarding the ports. The ports, East Coast, West Coast, they're backed up everywhere. When it goes to that port of Los Angeles and Long Beach, they're talking about President Biden as well getting involved, saying we've got to open these up 24 hours a day. We need the drivers to participate. We need the shippers, the receivers, the warehouses. The folks unloading the boats as well. Everybody has to participate. Hey, Ralph, when it comes to a 24-hour operation, when it comes to all of a sudden working at nighttime as an operator out there, with the ships, man, are there some additional challenges that come in from fatigue that you've seen with that Panama Canal?
Well, as a matter of fact, I went out to California here a few months back, and I did see the backlog out there at Long Beach. That's where I was. There's a few things. The Panama Canal got expanded for a reason. Now we have these Neo ships that are almost twice the size as the original ships. What does that incur? That means that the ships that come to the port are larger. They take a longer time to offload. And that's one of the factors happening right now in California and other places where, we were expecting the ships at a normal Panamax average ships that they were unloaded, which the time frame was great. However, here comes these new Neo ships. Now it's twice the size, twice the offload factor, and now it's a backlog out there in California. And you figure with this 24-hour operation that Biden said in September that we have to get this so we can advance it to get it to offload quicker. Did that make it quicker? Did that make it safer? I personally believe that it's not a quicker thing that's been done. Here we see the truckers. They offload everything faster because they're working more hours. They're working later hours. But what happens with the trucker that gets that, he approaches the port, he gets that load at 10 at night. Now he's got to leave there at 4 in the morning. Are any warehouses open? Where does he go? Because now here's the factor, like you were saying earlier. Yeah, he's not used to working a shift. And now here we come to this night shift that we have to be over there because we have to try to offload all these items for the customer. However, here I am at the port working odd hours. I'm getting my cargo. I'm driving it to a supposedly warehouse that I'm supposed to go offload, but the warehouse isn't open. These are the things that we have to pretty much think about. Oh, wow, we got help. We got a 24-hour offloading operation. But in the sense, it's not helping as quick as people think. However, we still have to be pretty much prepared to go forward and make it work for the people. Yeah, those are issues that are happening out there.
Yeah, and something we spoke about yesterday as well is that these ports on the East Coast and the Gulf Coast, they're sending all their empties as well going out to California. Okay, now we think about that. You're right. All these empties are coming in, and Port of California, they can't take those as well right now in their ports. They run out of spaces. They run out of time. They cut them off, and the driver's going in there with an empty container to drop it off. He or she, they're unable to get inside these yards. And now, Drive Safe Dave, we start unloading a little bit later. Now we're going to 24 hours a day. Well, when we're doing more freight, that's going to create more empties as well coming back into. And if we're already backlogged, if we can't take the empties that we already have, well, how are we supposed to take all of these trailers that are getting unloaded at nighttime, now these containers that have to come back? It's going to, again, I still see it as creating a bigger backlog as long as these empties if we can't fulfill the empty trailers today in the port, well, how are we going to unload more and take more on? That's a question I have and something we've got to think about as well. Hey, Ralph, what are your thoughts? When you're out there at that port, did you get a chance to go out there and just see all of the chaos that must exist out there on the ports?
Well, you figure that they had a record. I see the news and people are like, "There's 500,000 ships out there." No, there's not. There's 500,000 containers. That is a fact. At the backlog, at the most, when a ship arrives to the port, it usually takes about an average of about 3 to 4 days. Approach, get to shore, offload, and continue. However, they're looking at 30 days per ship now of backlog out there. That trickles to the effect that it's going to be going on to 2022, maybe 2023. It's a big backlog of things that are happening now out there. Also, you figure that the ships that are out there, they were averaging maybe 20, 30 ships on the offshore. There's a record of 100 or plus ships out in the ocean right now, in the especially in the port of Long Beach, waiting to come in to offload. That's a big backlog, and this in turn, it's a trickle effect to everybody else that's on land. People are seeing a shortage right now of wood. People are seeing a shortage right now of appliances. Are they on the ship? Are we waiting for that? Here now we have to pretty much get together with everybody in the country and say, hey, look, it's not going to hurry up the process if we try to get the ship on land and try to offload it on a 24-hour cycle. Because like you're saying, they're over empty, and are they coming full, or are they coming all complete? And where do they go after they get the merchandise and then go to their supposedly last stop? Can they get there on time? And there's the other factor. Are they meeting the deadlines? That's the key thing. There's a lot of people waiting for those deadlines, and then the people aren't meeting them.
I got a question for you. When you have these huge pressures and these new deadlines that are incurred and felt by every employee and everybody at the port, just like they did at the Panama when they went to a 24-hour, how important it is that the safety directors push back against management or against other people to make sure that safety is priority and number one. How important or what are the steps that taken to make sure that safety is involved all the way up? Because when you start talking about pressures and times and quotas and numbers, sometimes people start to think of maybe push that to the side. How important is that, and what is it steps taken to make sure that's not done?
Well, you got to figure, here we have the worker that's at the port. He's offloading the containers. He's not used to working all these hours. Their hours are usually 7 a.m., 8 p.m. They don't have the sun goes down around that time. Now here comes the factor of working at night. What's the key element? Training. Here we have to train these people. We have to make sure that they're aware of how they work at night. They have limited visibility. Here they are. It's a safety factor. They have to pretty much work on hours when they're fatigued. So you're pretty much coaching them. You're training them. You're retraining so that they're aware of how to work under this type of circumstances, especially when you're working odd shifts that you're not used to working with. So those are key elements that we have to pretty much go to the worker and let them know, hey, these are factors that you're not used to, but you have to get used to.
Yeah, I mean,
so the training is a big key.
Yeah, and the support to folks, Ralphie, when you talk about the World Safety Organization, you have to have the support. The safety directors at these locations have to have the support from the management, ownership, directors, or whatever that is, to make sure, as Drive Safe Dave said, and that we're operating safely first and foremost, that we place value even on the lives of those working in the port, not just drivers, but everybody. We must place value on life, because it only takes a mistake to end the life of somebody at one of these ports. Some frustrations that I can also imagine, going back to the ship count that you were talking about, is, well, now we see all of these companies going out and leasing their own ships. And not only do you have the mega ships coming in, you also now have the little smaller ships that are carrying 5,000 or 10,000 containers, because if there's an available ship out there, for whatever reason, even though it's not going to get unloaded, we're going to lease that ship, load it up, and bring it here somewhere to wait out there in the bay. So it's a lot of frustration, a lot of pressure on everyone out there in the port, I can just imagine.
Absolutely. And then you figure the way that we're working during the daytime, here we have, enough sufficient light to be able to see everything. At night, it becomes a big factor offloading those giant containers, especially when you're talking about these tower cranes that they're unloading and they're going at a speed. And the operator of the crane also, he's got limited visibility. He's got to use lights. He's got to make sure that everybody that's on the ground is cooperating with him. And, the radio signal, forget about the hand signals at night. Here we are talking on the radio. What happens if the battery goes down? A lot of safety factors are involved. And this is something that I know that the safety directors on each port are pretty much on hand with the safety team involved. you're probably going to have more safety personnel at night than you will during the day, just to make sure everything is offloaded safe.
All right, Ralph, and we also had a question here from one of our drivers, Brian Winsauer. What do you got for us today, sir?
Good morning, sir. Thank you, as always, for joining us. Hey, my question, I understand that this may or probably won't fall within your direct area of focus, but you probably know the answer. I read recently that ships going through the canal have to, by whatever rules, have to utilize properly certified by the canal pilots to actually guide them through the channels. And I'm just curious, we all heard about the ship that got stuck, and that captain, was kind of made a fool of globally for running his ship aground. But why wouldn't this required Panama Canal certified pilot have not carried some of that blame?
Well, you figure that I know which ship you're talking about that almost hit the bridge, which it actually did touch the bridge on the bow of that ship. Sometimes the ships themselves, if they have some sort of mechanical function that goes awry, or the ship, in this instance itself, the ship was coming around the bend of the cut. He was supposed to make a hard left. The actual rudder got stuck. So the mechanical issue that the ship had, and the pilot's awareness and trying to do whatever to avoid going through the bridge, did put some pressure on him. However, if the ship has some sort of mechanical issues in the canal itself, they do have protocols for that. You hear 4 long beeps for 4 long horns on the ship. It's a distress signal. Right away, the tugs that are in the area are going to come and approach it. And that ship in particular did have some tugs that were in the stern of it. And so they were able to go thrust backwards to avoid a worse collision than what it did. And these things happen. They don't happen all the time, but when they do happen, the pilot is the one that's at the helm, and the pilot is the one that has that, all that stress to be able to deal with it after the fact. And then it's not necessarily 100% pilot error in this instance. However, mechanical errors and pilot decisions are key for making it safe. And yeah, good question there.
All right. Thank you for that, Ralph. Hey, great question as always, Mr. Brian Winsauer. Hey, Ralph, I want to thank you for being on BCB Live. We're the safest station in the nation. Hey, Ralph, I want to make sure that you continue to do your part as well to make this country, to make this world a little bit safer than what we found it yesterday. I appreciate you for your knowledge and your participation and your just your excitement around safety. You know what? You're my blood brother.
Thank you, Rick. Thank you. And it's great to be on this show. The safest station in the nation. It's always fun to be here.
All right. Thank you for that,
Thanks,
Ralph. Appreciate that. And as we listen to Ralph and we think about, he brings up a lot of points and about safety, about the, not just the vehicles going in and out of there. And a lot of times, because we're in that transportation market, we think about the trucks going in, the fatigue that happens. And don't forget, there's also fatigue up there with the people operating this machinery.
The longshoremen.
Yes. I mean, those bringing the boats in, the pilots that are bringing them in as well. The stress that happens from all the different ships, right? And I can just imagine, I guess a good follow-up question to Ralph would have been, the different ships out there, they all have to act different in the water. It ain't like it's coming in, it's going to react the same way every day, all the time. It's changing all the time.
But yeah, we talk about it and we think about it, but there's got to be a whole new set of challenges that occur, because you've got to put up new sets of lights, places that you never needed them before. You've got to put up new signs, new warning signs, make sure everybody has certain things that they wear that are illuminated at night in different ways. I mean, there's a whole set of new challenges that occur, and it's really interesting to know that he was, and I was going to kind of ask that question, but he alluded right to it, that more people of the safety team will be on hand in the new hours than they will be in the old hours, just to make sure that certain protocols are in effect and being taken into consideration.
Yeah, and some things, the thoughts that I had even on that same comment were, Well, normally in our industry, if we just think about transportation or really anything police work, that the dispatch offices, they're mainly staffed a little bit better during the day hours. And even though there's activity, action at nighttime, we're staffed during the daytime. Why? Well, because in general, most people want to work. Most people operate a little bit better in the day shift and then in the night shift. And I think it talks to the fatigue that's going to happen. It talks to those that are working at nighttime. I mean, there's less to choose from to work at night than there are work for days. It's no different in the trucking industry as well. You're going to find that 75% of your drivers prefer to run during the daylight hours. They don't want to be out there at night because our bodies tend to, they want to shut down.
Yeah, and it is what you're used to, right? If you've been doing it a long time, it's hard to change, and change is difficult no matter what it is. And I'll tell you that having worked third shift, having run nights, it will take its toll over time. And I'll tell you, there are certain limitations. A lot of people have certain ways they can't even see as well at night, not because of their inability with what they call night blindness. They have certain conditions that render them not able to do some of the jobs that you do normally during the day.
Hey, one job that happens every day, and that is Buckle Up Bob, and his ability to talk to us about the road conditions and the weather conditions. And he's up next on BCB Live, the safest station in the nation. You're watching BCB Live, the safest station in the nation. BCB Live covers freight. Here we are now at 21% of record freight being rejected. News over the UK, they have the Army personnel getting ready to start driving the fuel trucks. Weather, traffic.
Hey, good morning, everybody. Welcome to some traffic and weather with Buckle Up Bob.
And most importantly, safety.
You can do many things to communicate that you are slowing down. You can flip your hazards on.
Expect craziness like this all the time.
75% of these fatal accidents involving these trucks are with the first two, and it's the driving too fast and tailgating. If this driver hadn't slowed down, this could have been a whole different outcome.
Tune in weekdays from 7 a.m. to 8 a.m. Central Standard Time. You can watch BCB Live through LinkedIn, YouTube, or Facebook. So what are you waiting for? Subscribe today and follow BCB Live.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to this thankful Thursday morning. Again, we're going to start with some traffic, going to the weather. You can see we'll start with the DFW area. Just some of the typical rush hour traffic, but there is a lot of it, a lot of slowdowns. I believe there was an accident here on 30, so that has caused the delays there. And you can see you got the onlookers. I believe it was the westbound direction. So right here is where the accident, and you can see the onlookers start to slow down. Man, that is really a distraction that you've really got to get good at. Is the accident's accident. You looking at it isn't going to help. Keep your eyes on what's in front of you. Make sure that you're mindful of that. Got a little construction as well around the Metroplex, and then you can see here on 20, the eastbound direction, right here south of Arlington, also congested, as well as right here at 360, the merge point. You've got some backups there. You also have a backup here at the 45. From 175 where it joins up coming into the downtown area. And then it's always slow up here on 183. So just keep in mind you got about a 15-minute slowdown there as well. And it looks like coming into the loop from the east, you are going to experience some 15 to 20-minute slowdowns as well. So as we go to the Kansas City area, wow, Kansas City has a little bit more congestion this morning than normal. So again, you're going to have a little bit, but all in all, not too bad. The loops are clear, as you can see, very minimal spots where you might see a 5-minute slowdown. But again, the real problem appears to be up here on the 35 and 29 split right there, and also 29, 435, or 45, up by Houston Lake. So as you come into the Kansas City area, the Houston Lake area, Avondale, Clay, Como, might see some delays up there for you this morning. We go to the Chicago. Wow, Chicago's looked really good this year. Or this week, this year. This week. You can see coming in from Indiana, not too bad. The loops are all good. Bolingbrook looks pretty good. Just a small slowdown there by Darien. But all in all, everything looks really good. 90 looks good. 88 looks good coming in. 80, 57, all the major thoroughfares look good, as well does the 355 loop around the Chicago. Great. Should have some smooth sailing this morning in the Chicago area. Philadelphia looks pretty much the same. Not too bad. I mean, it's typical Philadelphia traffic, right? A little bit more congestion on the east side here by Belmar. Again, on the New Jersey side. But again, the 76, the turnpike coming into the downtown area, congested. Also back here at Swarthmore, just like it was yesterday. We even have some issues down here on 30 coming in to the loop down by Downingtown, Pennsylvania. So as you get to the Philadelphia area, expect many delays. Pack your patience. Keep your speed down. Your space increase. Atlanta really congested this morning, folks, so you can see every direction other than just the southern area. But you've got the 285 is congested all the way from 20 to 20. So, again, it is the entire, what is that, about 3/4 of that loop? So anywhere you go, coming in from 85, you're going to run into some major backup all the way to past Pleasant Hill to Chamblee, the airport there. So, again, just be patient. Remember, you cannot go around this and cut through the city unless you deliver inside the loop. You must take the loop around Atlanta. It is a state law. Expect many, many delays this morning as you come into the Atlanta area, folks. Nashville, again, also very congested. You can see 24, again, back here by Laverne, all the way up into the loops. The 40 merger and 24, very congested this morning, both directions, as typical. The northern loop looks pretty good this morning for Nashville. You still got 65 and 386 up there by Hendersonville. You're going to expect some major delays back there. You can see a long line, probably 20, 25 minutes delay at least up there. The rest of the loop looks pretty good. Downtown area going to be very congested this morning as well when you go to the Nashville. As we get into the Baltimore, D.C. area, got a lot of traffic again, so be mindful of it. Again, almost 3/4 of the 695 loop, all the way from Parkville, all the way down to Catonsville and Woodlawn. You've got some, you can see red. So expect 20, 30, 40-minute delays anywhere in between around the Baltimore area. And then as you come down 295 into the Washington, D.C. area, you're going to have some delays as well. And the entire loop, except for just a small section on the western side of the D.C. area from North Bethesda all the way down to Annandale, you're going to be clear on the loop, but the rest of the loop is congested. So again, pack your patience. Expect delays out there this morning, and just be patient. Keep the speed down. Stay in your lanes, right? When you're in this traffic, changing lanes isn't going to gain you nothing. You may move a few feet ahead, but when you're in this kind of congestion, you just got to be patient. Stay in your lane. Avoid them lane changes. That increases your risk of an accident by about 30 to 40%. So again, just be patient this morning. It is what it is. It's rush hour traffic. If you can, get off and maybe get you, as Drive Safe Dave loves to say, a Coke and a hot dog. Maybe not a hot dog this early in the morning, but get you something and just let the traffic die down a little bit. I know the D.C. area, it's that way pretty much all day, but it will subside at least a little bit for you. Hey, our weather, as we start off our day, you know, we could see a little bit of a, oh, this is the, no, it isn't. Okay. Yeah. So this is our current weather. You can see some showers running up through the Atlanta area into Illinois, just kind of up there all the way into Minnesota. So we've got a big loop, kind of S-curving, if you will. A little bit of snow in the Denver area. Not much to be to worry about. The big story again is going to be our wind gusts. Watch what it does as we go through the afternoon here. Around 3 p.m., you can just see it goes boom. Again, we are already seeing, and I'll zoom in here. That's 31. Let me zoom in because I've seen some 40-mile-an-hour gusts in the Kansas area. Let's see if they subsided. There's 41 out here near always hard to see. I apologize. Scott City. And we've got right here Coldwater, 35 mile an hour gusts. There was a 50, so maybe it's light in Wichita, 43 mile an hour gusts. So, folks, remember, when you get up in that mid 40s and you're empty, it is unsafe to be on the road, right? You're going to get blown over with the right gust and the right force. Slow down in the curves. Again, we've got the wind. It's going to be that way. We knew this coming in. It will start to die down, I believe, around 10 o'clock. There you go. About 10 p.m. this evening, it should. Let's get rid of some of that busy numbers. You can see it does die down a little bit, with the exception right there on the Oklahoma-Arkansas state lines. But you kind of see around 10 p.m., you should be a little bit able to move a little bit more safer. And then tomorrow morning, not too bad. But again, tomorrow we're going to see some more wind. But as you can see, the D.C. area, not as bad as today. So we do get a little bit of a break as these winds die down a little bit. Our rain chances, as you go through the week, you can see tomorrow, D.C. area, Washington, Maryland, get ready. You are going to see some potential strong storms. And again, that's going to start. You can see South Carolina into this evening. We'll also see some major storms as well as this whole system kind of shifts to the east. Hey, we'll take a quick little break and be right back with some safety.
Welcome back to BCB Live, safest station in the nation. Drive safe, Dave. Any moose crossing going on here in Texas?
No, but you know what? If it does happen, and you just got to be prepared, if you see this sign, make sure you're looking out for the moose or the meese in your area as they wander. And you know what? We're going to be getting to rut season here pretty soon. I just want to make sure everybody is aware that they're not out looking for you. They're looking for something else.
Is meese really the plural moose?
No, I was just kidding.
I didn't think so.
I was
Okay.
being funny.
What is a plural moose?
Moose.
Good job. Hey, he does know
The
something.
moose is loose.
I was trying to be. By the way, what's the difference between an antler and a horn, Bob? Because
Antler.
these are antlers. What's the
Right.
difference between an antler and a horn?
Horn is one.
No.
Horn.
A cow can have horns, but actually horns don't come off. Antlers always fall off every year. Horns stay on forever. So
Do they?
yes, sir.
So what do elephants? Are them horns?
Those
or
are
antlers?
tusks. Well, those
So
are
now we're
those
going to change something different.
That's tomorrow's conversation. Yes, that's tomorrow's conversation.
made of ivory.
Back
Oh,
in the world of
goodness.
safety.
Back in the world of safety, we've been talking all week about hours of service. So, folks, make sure you get with your company. Personal conveyance does not have any official rules, just guidelines until they make it. They decide what they want to do. So most companies set that. So get with your company. Make sure that you don't go over the limits. And remember what it was designed for. It was designed to get you out of a situation, allow you to move legally because you were out of hours and being required to move. So basically, you're being forced to move. You must, make sure that. So you shouldn't see it in the middle of your day. You've got hours, right? So make sure that's most companies, but every company's different. Check with your company. Make sure what their guidelines are and don't exceed them, right? These are hard things on an audit to disprove, if you will. So make sure that you follow whatever your company has set forth out there.
I'll tell you, and we talk about personal conveyance. I'll tell you that's probably the most able to abuse the rights and privileges of what it's intended by law and what it to be used for is that personal conveyance. You got to be really careful how it's used, how it's applied, and make sure that the notations are correct when you utilize something like personal conveyance. Because of all the things that you have on your log, it's the one realm and one area in which it's able to be cheated, and people are looking at that with a big spotlight, right? Making sure that it's followed in the guidelines and the principle of the rule is followed as well.
Yeah, and you bring up a great point. Many drivers, in my discussions anyway, and I'm sure this is probably typical, when you talk to a driver, they latch onto the personal reason. And yes, that is important, but it is not the first and foremost thing. Remember, again, personal conveyance was kind of designed because drivers were being forced to move and being forced to drive illegally because they were out of hours. So they came up with personal conveyance. Hey, and they gave up, they gave things. Hey, if the law enforcement, you're parked, they're making you move. You can now legally do it to the next nearest location, right? So that kind of tells you that, okay, this was designed because you were being forced to move illegally. So that does not mean use personal because you're doing something personal in the middle of your day. You have the hours. It was designed because, hey, I've got to this customer, they ran me out of the hours and they're not letting me stay here. So now I got to go to find a place to park. Out of your control, absolutely personal conveyance to the nearest safe place. So remember what it was designed. Basically, you got to be out of hours and you're being required to move. And you cannot advance it towards your next dispatch.
Hey, speak to the safety directors, though, at companies, because while we put all this and we explain it to the drivers, it is still up to the trucking company to manage the personal conveyance.
Yeah, we do. I've heard some drivers that have come from other where they don't do this, and it's just a matter of time that it's going to get you in an audit. We talk to the DOT regularly, here at BCB to get. And again, you can talk to different DOT officers and get a different opinion from many of them. The saying is, I can put 100 different DOT officers in a room and get 100 different answers. And then, while that's true, you've got to just always go back to the intent. Safety directors, get with your insurance companies too, because again, these audits are what's going to be important to you and your insurance company and the liability side of it. So you got to remember, hey, as Drive Safe Dave says, don't abuse it. If you're sitting there and you say, hey, if I PC, I'm going to gain this advantage, that's your red flag that it's just wrong, right? Companies, anybody out there, because it wasn't designed for you to take advantage, to get an unfair advantage. It was designed to strictly get you out of a situation you didn't create and you're being forced or required to move. And that's what you should just note on your log, required to move.
Yeah, and not only the great notations that do there, and you talk to these people, you talk to the directors, it's really important that you set a policy, right?
Yes.
And that everyone is on the same page and the policy is followed and the guidelines followed so that when you have an opportunity to explain what your policy is toward the deal and how it's being applied, it has it's got a much better feel and a much better visualization on how it's being used across the board. If you just leave it to everybody to make that, cowboy decision about how it's going to be used, you're going to get 900 different answers as well. But if you set the policy as the company or what the safety director, you can come up with a great guideline that will best benefit the company and everybody involved in utilizing personal conveyance.
Well, it really helps your drivers, right? They're out there, they're just trying to make a living, and they assume, and unless you give them that clear guidance of what to do, you're just kind of setting them up for failure. And again, some suggestions. Again, Canada has already set theirs. Of course, they use kilometers, but it converts to 47 miles a day. So maybe you want to be under that so that you don't have to teach your drivers new rules to go into Canada if you have freight going into there. There's just all kinds of things that you need to take in advantage or in consideration when you set these guidelines, and that was just one of them. So please set the guidelines, help your drivers, give them clear direction and say, hey, this is what it's not just a matter of how you interpret the rules, it's what's going to help protect that driver in a court of law and the company as well. And when you set those guidelines, and that's why I said it has to be, you're required to move. A situation that you didn't cause, and now, so you can't come up knowing that you're going to come up 30 minutes short of getting home, stop, pull over, and PC the rest of the way. You're extending your day. That is not something that you have control to be able to find a safe haven in plenty of time, not to be illegal. And that's really what it was designed for. So great conversation this morning. And we've got some great videos this morning. A lot of the weather you can see here. And a lot of things we can learn from. So this question here, I just want to ask. This driver is not doing anything wrong, but does he or she have an out? If something gets tangled up, as you can see, it is stacked back there. And they're not doing anything wrong. But again, we talk about a safe operation and safest. For me, hey, back out of this, because if these things all get tangled up, You're doing 65 miles an hour. Are you able? I see there's a little bit on the right, but there's also a tree line at 65 miles an hour, wet pavement. Do you really have a safe out right here when this truck comes in there? And now you can see if everything gets tangled up, this truck ain't going to be able to avoid it. And then watch all the lumber that's going to be on here. That's going to be on the road in front of you in all likelihood. So again, just maybe, hey, back out of this and let it go a little bit slower here. Plus, you're on the rain anyway. So again, just be mindful of that you may not have the out you think you've got here.
And the straps on the front first part of the load aren't within 18 inches. I don't like
A little scary.
I don't like the strapping on the flatbed.
Here again, another great job, coming in the lane, and look at the space immediately. And then you got a four-wheeler with no lights, at nighttime on the rain. It just shows what drivers have to put up with. If there's safety directors, other companies, man, I hope you watch these. And when you talk to the drivers and you wonder why they're always upset or frustrated, here's why. You're driving at night, you're on the rain, and you've got people coming up with no headlights that you have to be on the lookout for to protect all life. But great job by this driver. Car came in the lane, immediately increased the space, and the speed is way down to about 45 or 54 miles an hour. So great job. Here, got a light coming up, So just remember, this is doing the speed limit. Again, you're approaching a light. You must be able to stop, which this driver can. But you want to see the safest thing to do is be slowing down a little bit sooner. But great job at keeping that big picture. And we've been talking about the wind. I'm going to assume, and I wish this video would have extended a little bit longer, but you're going to be able to see the side of this trailer flapping in the wind right up there. So it actually pulled something apart, probably had a little bit of damage to begin with. And you can see the whole skirting or the side of that trailer is just barely hanging on at the top. So probably had a little bit of damage, maybe some missing rivets, whatever. And the wind got in there in a little crack and just probably ripped it open a little bit. So be mindful of your equipment. It's so important to do great pre-trips. Not saying that was the problem here, but respect that wind, folks. It doesn't just blow you over. Great patience here. These country highways are always scary. Coming the other direction, right? And then you got a truck going to pass both. At an intersection, this truck is turning. Can any vehicles you see crop, a wheat maybe field there? Can they see, if a car is sitting there, can they see this big rig coming on the other side? And they see this guy's turning, very possible to pull out in front there. But great job by this driver, staying back, staying in the lane. Again, another one, right? Patience. Great job here. Somebody yes, we hear it all the time. You leave space, somebody takes it. And this driver just backs off, slows down, right? Great job, can see the road. Get in that situational awareness. And I love this because this driver clearly packed his patience, his or her patience. You're in traffic, you're not going anywhere. You can see that in the big picture. So you just got to sit back and be patient and enjoy the ride if you can. And know that people are going to cut in front of you. Way to react to that. Just phenomenal job there. Intersections are dangerous. I know where this one is. So again, great job in the rain. Look at that spacing. People are going away. Able to safely slow down at the light and make their turn a nice, safe, just a great job. So get to finish up on this Thankful Thursday with some really great defensive. I can't see anything else they could have done much different to be any safer than what they were in some stressful situations and traffic conditions. Great job there.
Yeah, some good videos. We did see a lot of patience in there. We see drivers that appear to be backing out of situations. Always room to be a little safer. Let's not forget that, is that we can always do just a little more. And I love where we are, though, that we can expect so much more today. We've seen a lot of videos. We've seen a lot of improvement. And the way we continue to improve is to grade ourselves, is to watch our videos, is to put a little bit more on ourselves on what we can do to protect life. It takes all of us, the four-wheelers as well, to keep these highways safe.
We watched the videos, and one of the reoccurring themes was, to me, was inclement weather in some way, shape, form, or capacity. It was either high wind, like Bob was talking about, or rain. And we're going to continue to see inclement weather as we approach a new season, and we get more and more of what's going on. just be aware that each season and each inclement weather offers its own set of challenges that you have to react to accordingly. And one of the best ways to react is to slow down and be better prepared to be able to stop in the area that you have in front of the vehicle. Challenge yourself today, if you get a chance, to count off the seconds between you and the vehicle in front of you. Make sure that you're providing yourself with enough space to be able to stop. It's a practice that you should get into all the time. It's something that you need to continue to do. Work with yourself and challenge yourself today while you're out there to really see that space in front of you. And the only way you can do that is with time. You can't really judging it by distance and lines and space. I'll tell you what, none of that really matters unless you do it by the seconds involved as you cross under a bridge or go by a post or anything else that's stationary. Give yourself that purpose to make that space bigger and better for you out there on the road.
Well put. Our eyes physically, we are physically not able to adjust at 65 miles an hour to gauge accurate distances.
Correct.
But time is fixed. It's there. 1 second is 1 second. No matter how fast you're going, 1 second is still 1 second. So great point, Drive Safe. You've got to use time as your distance measuring tool, because if you just try to guess, and we've seen that in some of the new technology where, what I thought was a safe distance is less than a second yet still.
Right, absolutely.
And so that visual awareness is really hard, and so you've got to use time.
You do. If you're out there today and you're looking for the safest station in the nation, hey, you found us. We're right here. Like us on YouTube. Follow us on the YouTube channel. Follow us on LinkedIn as well. So many different ways to follow us, and some reasons you're going to want to do that as we talk about inclement weather, winds, all of the things that come during the season that we're getting ready to run into, is that we may go live when we see bad weather across this country.
Boom.
And you want to get the alert to make sure that you have the support as well to know what's going on in lanes that maybe you're not familiar with. If you're a trucking company out there and you're watching BCB Live for the first time, take our advice, take that step in being the safest trucking company in America. And that means it starts with you as a dispatcher, as an owner. Your drivers out there, they want that, they need it. Your safety directors, you've got the opportunity to make a change in the life of somebody else. And that means you've got to educate, you have to teach. You can't just say, well, you've been doing it, you're a truck driver, you should know this. We've got to place down the rules, the expectations. We have to show them and teach them and educate them on what it is to be safe, because at the end of the day, we don't know what somebody's been trained on. We don't know that the company they were at was told to, when in doubt, unplug your log. We don't know that. The fact that you have electronic logs, people say, well, how do you cheat? Well, you unplug it. And if the safety director or the company isn't watching that, isn't looking for that, there's really no difference. You out there as a trucking company, as I say, you've got to make that, you have to make that decision to train these drivers, to educate the drivers, to go over what your policy is. And buckle up, Bob, there's nothing wrong with your policy being stricter than, say, what the government has out there.
Correct. And again, it's about, you got to remember, it's not about punishing or making life difficult. In the end, by making some of these, being a little bit more stringent than the government rules, you are protecting the driver. Believe it or not, they may not see it, and that's your job to coach them, but help them understand that, yes, this is to protect you, because now you are having them, like, some companies give, they got to get a truck inspection twice a year where the regulations require once, right? Some do 3, 4 a year. But it's all about improving that safety model. And believe it or not, what amazed me is I had a misperception, Sir Rick, about drivers that just wanted to always break the rules. They really don't. Yes, there's a few out there, but most of them just want the clear guidelines so they know how to operate in them, and they will. It is just really one of those misperceptions that I had over the years that has gone away.
Yeah, most of us need structure, right? We need to know what's expected of us, and most of us, when we know what's expected of us, most of us follow up and we get that completed. Not all of us, but most of us. Hey, this is BCB. It's BCB Live. We're the safest station in the nation. Hey, drive safe, Dave. I think you need to say that prayer today.
Heavenly Father, we gather before you today to ask for your grace in all things. We ask for you to come into our lives today to make it better for us in some way, shape, form, or fashion so that we may give back, so that we may give to each person and be a blessing upon somebody else today. Father, give us the strength and the courage to go out and make great decisions today to be safe, to be kind, and to be considerate. Father, we ask that you give us this power today in all things. Father, we ask this in your name we pray. Amen.
Amen. BCB Live, safest station in the nation. We'll see you this afternoon. God bless. Stay safe.